Folks, welcome back. My name is Rudy. You're watching Alpha Investments on the Timmy Empire, where we live a life of cardboard. So we just got this in the store. I was just starting to open this box, and I was like, you guys have to join me. Because I was like, again, the meme on the internet, everyone's like, Rudy he's involved in so many transactions. By the time products show up, I don't know which is which. I have to go by the names, the shipping labels, and the emails to follow things. Because sometimes there's delays of 1 week, 1 month. I've had collections where we've done a deal. It doesn't even show up for like 4 to 6 months. And I'm like, what the hell is this? I don't even remember what it is. So today, I was going through this and I said, wow! A red shiny magic box. And I was just super excited. I knew this was the moment that would define the rest of my life. No, I'm bamboozling you guys. I do like the box. What set is that from? Somebody tell me what set that's from? It's Fat Pack. I don't know what set that's from. So check this out, folks. We have a first edition, like new, Ziploc bag from the late 90s print run of the Ziploc Corporation. Now this is a very interesting variant. We have the white top of the Ziploc. We also have the blue slider mechanism with the normal sandwich bag setup. Now, we also shredded documents from failed companies like Enron and Lehman Brothers on the side to encourage cushion and safety as we transported our Ziploc bag. All right, I'm done bamboozling you. You guys got to check this out. Do you see this? Are you seeing it yet? Check this out, everybody. You ready? You guys got to see this. Sorry, there's nothing else in there. You know, the collector's edition is probably the most controversial, largest percentage declining asset class in the world of Magic the Gathering post Magic 30. Magic 30 is, what are we at, a year and a half away? Has it been a year and a half now? I think it's been a year and a half, everybody. I think it's been a long time. So today we have, boy, that's wild. Instead of I'll give you $49.95 instead of the thousands we agreed on. I'll give you $50. That'd be nice. So we have the collector's edition of the old-fashioned $49.95 WOC 6800 world-famous collector's edition sets. Now, obviously, off camera, I will do some verification on details on the wrapping, the weight, and other specs for authenticity and different little things, and I'll put it inside my CV, my scanning machine and everything to make sure that I have at least one of each G.I. Joe card and before we make payment and all that fun stuff. But I want to start the video with this before we move to a second thing. And I also wanted to add that, remember, folks, I feel like I'm one of the only idiots buying old Magic cards. AlphainvestmentsLLC at gmail.com. Pictures, prices, give me an idea what you got. And we'll see if we got a path forward, and we'll make a fun video and get you taken care of. And on average, if it's rough condition, heavy play, nasty stuff, you're around 60 cents on the dollar. If it's high-end, really nice sealed stuff and fancy stuff like this and other vintage boxes, you go up to 70 to 80 cents on the dollar. So it usually averages between 65, 75 range, depending if it's minty, depending if it's rough, depending on what it is, and the volume of the transaction, blah, blah, blah. But anyways, now that we got the business stuff out of the way, I wanted to first state, before we're not going to spend the whole video on just this little collector's edition brick today. If and or when the vintage Magic world turns, I always felt that everybody else believed the collector's edition, CE and ICE, International Collector's Edition, everybody believes these will be the hardest turning items in the category. I'm not on board with that. Obviously, I own a very large position in Collector's Edition and International and all these things. But a lot of people believe this is the key to the vintage Magic the Gathering era turning around. A lot of people believe this is the item that people are watching for the actual reserve list old things to turn. And the reason for that, again, is because people believe that this is the worst performing, the largest declining, because, well, they, Magic 30, Mark Rosewater, are you ever going to reprint Collector's Edition, Mr. Mark Rosewater? No, of course not. We'll never do that, not even with different card backs or nothing. And then, of course, they did that. And it's one of the most infamous copy-pasted screenshots in the history of vintage Magic and Magic the Gathering in 30 years on the internet. It's infamous. There are shirts made on it. There are memes made on it. I've heard all kinds of stories of people it's a very wild piece of Magic history. So obviously Collector's Edition products are the most taboo, highest risk of the vintage cards. You buy an Alpha card, actually a lot of people believe that Arabian Nights, Rudy's favorite set, is actually the least risky out of the Four Horsemen in ABU era of Magic. And a lot of the consensus behind that is because that Arabian Nights has so many cards, that are tied. Army of Allah, Jihad. You have all these cards, Stone Throwing Devils, Rudy's ex-girlfriend. You've got, your stepsister. Hold on a second. You have Self-Portrait of Rudy. You have so many cards and items in Arabian Nights that Wizards just won't reprint. You have cards that deal with, ante, which is betting and gambling. You have cards with the cultural sensitivity, modern 2020 and modern era bannings. It's just people believe Arabian Nights is the safe haven because the culture in modern perspective in our society, in the perspective of employees in the company of Wizards and Hasbro, essentially can't touch it. They think it's all taboo. They think it's evil, and they think that whether you agree with it or not, they just don't agree with history or anything to do with the tales of Arabian Nights, the stories or the cards and the arts and the blah blah blah. So when it comes to Collector's Edition, because they've already shown us that they will reprint it and do new versions with different card backs, people feel this is the dirtiest and scariest piece of vintage Magic the Gathering. Now, before we move on to the next thing, I am not buying into the concept that people are messaging me and patrons and you guys out there in comments are saying, well, Rudy, when we see collector's editions, full sets and sealed ones of these things go back to selling for 15, 20, 25,000, 30,000 at the peak, when we see that happen, the whole market's going to be moving. This is the indicator. This is the benchmark. This is the canary in the coal mine. This is the item that people feel that when it turns or when it changes, that's going to be the item that turns the market. And that's it. I don't believe that. And I just want to share my job on this channel, as you all know, is we report the news, discuss the ups and downs and bamboozling of the cardboard world. And of course, Rudy tries to sell you cardboard because that's my life. And, I try to make money. And I don't know if you guys know that yet. I don't mean to ruin the video at 8 minutes and 10 seconds in, but I do like money. Welcome to Costco. I love you. It's weird. But I stand by the opinion I said in the other videos. I believe the turning point in vintage Magic will be led by the Alpha Beta stuff, and it will be led by Arabian Nights and revised dual lands, revised cards like Wheel of Fortune, the Mana Vaults, and of course the Underground Sea, Tundras, and kind of the Tropical Island. The blue dual lands will hit all-time highs. We'll see 1,000 plus in Underground Sea revised duels. I think that's the real barometer because everybody always says, Magic is more of utility. It's not Pokemon, where literally it's a whole different culture behind it. Unfortunately, I wish it was more like Pokemon, but Hasbro and Wizards just does not run the company that way. It is what it is. So, before we end the video, I want to go to one other little thing here in the video. I just want to share this crazy story there before we end today's vintage video. All right, coming in. This is a 1994 Toyota Camry with one original owner, Batman. No, I'm kidding. This is a set of revised. Came from the other collection purchased. Not much to look at in revised. I'm just going to kind of flip through, and I'm going to go to the dual lands. And as I'm doing this, I'm going to kind of yip-yap with you guys. Let me raise the camera a little bit. These are the 4 pages, so I need a little bit more height on the old camera there. Let me go through a few things. Unlike Pokemon, Magic is all about utility. Most people feel that most people that play Magic the Gathering are players. They are not collectors and investors, where people argue one of the reasons Pokemon is now so successful is the sheer volume of collectors and investors in Pokemon when Magic is lacking that. Now, the argument goes that with all card games, okay? When you have card games, it's a very bizarre, complicated ecosystem. You need the triangle of giggities, players, collectors, investors, to all coexist. There they are. In pretty much work together to make everybody successful and everybody happy. A card game long-term does not function properly if you annihilate any long-term value. Your reprints get out of control. The print runs are too high. The game piece army takes over. You get politics and culture taking over and infiltrating. You have to have a game that's focused on pretty much good mechanics, discipline on print runs, in a long-term perspective. Otherwise, you get what happens to all these new Kickstarter games that are now, because this market's booming. So, oh my God, there's another wave of, I swear, 50, 60, 70 new startups of card games. And that is the issue. Now when it comes to Magic, Magic leans on the utility side way more than Pokemon. I would say it's similar to Flesh and Blood. Flesh and Blood, similar thing. The player base is very heavily leans into the player utility side of new cards and the impacts of reprints and things like that. Okay, Flesh and Blood and Magic kind of have a very similar kind of mechanically played. I mean, in Flesh and Blood you have Majestics and the rare slots. Essentially, the Majestics and Legendaries are where most playable cards that have value that people want to buy. Okay, in Magic, when we go back to these old cards, it's all about the dual lands. So while everybody's obsessed, again, with the Magic 30 original version, I still feel Arabian Nights, Alpha Beta, and the basic foundation of revised duels are the main indicator. And if I had to pick one thing out of all of them, I would say the revised dual lands are pretty much what we need to continue to monitor. Now, revised dual lands are not doing terrible, okay? Unlike things like this, revised dual lands, no joke, are only like 20, I'd say maybe 25% off the all-time high now. That's nowhere near as bad as 50, 60% off the all-time high. So again, the market for this stuff has been clawing back and stabilizing. It's been slow and painful, and compared to new Magic the Gathering, collector boxes, and modern Magic, it's abysmal. Because modern, new Magic, and new Pokemon, new everything, I mean, even the last 3 new Flesh and Blood sets, the new products are decimating the old stuff right now. It's a very peculiar time period in the card world. And this is just part of market cycles. Doesn't mean it's a great thing or bad thing. It's just part of market cycles. So I do believe, and I stand by it, I am staying the course, and I continue to enjoy my old man Rudy collection and accumulate, and people who want to sell and get out or this and that. That's great. But I continue to believe, eventually, as we go through new market cycles in the future, there will be a time when everybody gets in. Because again, remember folks, I'm going to leave you guys on this final thing on the video. When's the last time you heard all the anger yelling about abolishing the reserve list? When's the last time you heard all the anger about reserve lists, evil investors, and the prices of Magic cards are too high? You don't hear that shit anymore, do you? That is how you know what part of the cycle we're in. Remember that, everybody. When you don't hear the game piece army yelling, print more boxes, that's how you know you printed too much. When you don't hear in the world of Magic complaining about the card prices and reserve list buyouts, and no one's, we got to get rid of the reserve list. Ugh, everything needs to be, a card shouldn't be over $5, $10 at the most. We don't hear that anymore. But it will return. It will return because the market cycle, and you'll know when we're there because the return of those kind of social media anger and posts will be our indicator. That is the barometer which leads to, as dual lands start to move, as certain staples or commander staples or reserve list staples, as certain cards start to make moves up, the voices on the internet and the very remember 8 roommates, 1 bedroom, 1 toilet, Taco Bell, it's clogged, everybody's angry, remember all that stuff? The return of that kind of anger posting to rally up the game piece army will come back. And no, they are in hibernation still, and they're not doing anything now. and they're just kind of little roly-polies. And just give them time. When the prices move, those posts will come back. The anger will shift from Pokemon and modern things to scalping and bad flippers and bad stores. All of those will go away. And then we'll go back to Pitchfork Army with, abolish reserve list. So until we see that, you have time for accumulation. Thanks for watching, folks. Hope you learned something. As always, life is a game that comes down to one thing: time. That's all it is. You have different components on the game of life, assets, utility, which is money, kind of financial strength. But everything comes back to time. You don't need much money if you have a lot of time. If you're healthy and you've got a lot of time in front of you, you've got a lot of runway, you can do a lot of damage long term. Everything comes down to time. Nobody's arguing that, an underground sea until the rest of humanity is never going to go up $1. The argument is time. How long? Is it worth it? Why waste your time? Just buy the S&P, right? The argument is always about time. The most valuable, precious asset in human history. Have a beautiful day, everybody. As always, make sure you watch good videos. Make sure you learn. Watch and listen to documentaries. Surround yourself with good people. Stay away from the negativity and drama. Stay away from people that bring you down in life. And don't, if it's too good to be true, it's probably a scam. Stay away from the meme coins. If you're a big crypto person, just stick with, Bitcoin and kind of the big boys. Stay away from the memes. Stay away from the penny stocks. In this new era where they're shoving gambling ads on every single thing in the universe, stay away from the gambling. Focus on the important things in life.